So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728, and the precipitous drop in presidential approval ratings from of the U.S. president from the 1900s to the present is more than likely not a result of some kind of great schism in American politics. It's probably more likely a result of access to better information and just people taking the same sides that they would have taken if they had known this information all along, I think. So what am I talking about? If you go looking for presidential approval ratings, as some people might have when Donald Trump was the president, you will see that beyond, a comparison of this point in the presidency, what is the approval rating of all the presidents? If you just look at a generic presidential, maybe it's an average presidential approval rating, you will see that from around the 1900s all the way to now, there's just a steep, steady decline. So, for example, if you go back to Reagan, a huge approval rating by the American public on both sides. Presumably, well, I think that he won in a landslide. I think he got a large percentage of the vote. But there are a lot of other presidents who got very high percentage approval ratings as well. Of course, Donald Trump did not get a very high approval rating, and people would say that it's drawn strictly along party lines. If you're a Republican, you would definitely, more than likely in his core group of people, I think he had an 80-something% approval rating among Republicans. If you're a Democrat, he would have a very low rating amongst Democrats. But if you think about it, in the past, people had very few means of getting their information. If you go right back to the 1900s, we presume there was no TV. Maybe there were movies around that time, depending. Radio might have been something that people had access to. The newspaper, not very many different newspapers. But as we progress from that point to the mid 1900s, television would have become a thing. There would not have been that many different TV stations, but of course there would be more access to radio. There would be more access to different newspapers. The internet wasn't there yet, of course, but then you keep going, and of course with respect to the internet, we have so many sources of information. We have sources of information from the other side of the world. You can look and see what Chinese people are saying in their English versioned newspapers. People in India, people in Australia, you can hear what their take is on a particular issue. Beyond newspapers, there are people on YouTube, there are people on social media, there are whistleblowers like WikiLeaks, there are conspiracy theories, all this other stuff. So people, especially younger people, have access to just a crazy amount of information. But I don't think that has changed people that much. I think that people's politics, and this is something else that we can, do some research on, but based on the research that I have done, your politics is much more affected by your family than almost anything else. So if you're a Democrat or you are a Republican or you're a liberal or conservative or you're religious or you aren't, your family is going to play a much bigger role in your point of view than even all of this access to information might suggest. So in the past, based on the information that you had, even if you perhaps did not vote for a particular president, you didn't have enough information to tell you that all of the ways that this guy might be potentially corrupt. And I've talked about being corrupt before, and I just want to do one little thing here. What we call corruption in politics is really just being a good friend or a good family member. And I just wanted to interject that here. I don't want to go too far into it. Maybe I can talk about that again at length. But yeah, just wanted to say that. So, yeah, as of right now, or as of, let's take Reagan. You might not have voted for Reagan, or you might have. I don't remember what I have not actually looked up to see what percentage of the vote he got, but it was presumably both. I just saw something recently that said 20% of Democrats voted for Reagan, which is not that high. I would expect some kind of slippage on either side in any vote. So there's that. But I think all of the stuff that we've discovered about Reagan now, for example, there was supposedly audio tape of him talking to Nixon, saying I think calling black people monkeys who barely want to wear shoes. If that had come out at the time when he was either running or seeking re-election or anything like that, his approval rating would not have been as high as it was, because certainly there are going to be people who would take offense to that for some reason. So, but now it's coming out, and people who would have been afraid to come and speak out, like people who came forward with respect to the Me Too movement, for a lot of politicians. For example, what was the name of that black Republican candidate? He got COVID and died. I don't remember what his name was, but he was running and he had a mistress, and I think she was speaking to the media. If Marilyn Monroe did have a relationship with JFK, she didn't say. We still don't even know. But we do know. I don't know if it's Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis's, if she had a book about it. But we've had people come out. I recall reading about one young woman who said that she was on a boat with JFK, and he was really interested in her. It was plain, and he was trying to find a moment with the two of them together. That would have been rumored in his time, but nobody would be describing a specific incident. And that would have definitely put people, it would have created what we're seeing now, which is a marked, clear-cut position that people have. No, I don't like you. You may be president, and you may have gotten the majority of the votes based on the electoral college, not based on actually popular vote. But I don't like you, and I don't believe in what you believe in, as exposed from the stuff that's in your mouth. Because also, what's part of it is, I think there's a longer campaign period. So, for example, Biden just got elected, and I would imagine that some people would be saying that Donald Trump is already campaigning. He was continuing to campaign after he got elected. Maybe he really enjoyed that. He was having rallies. And even before that, it's become more established that 2 years before a US election, people would say, hey, I'm running, and begin to collect money and campaign. That's become the norm in the US. So, given that whole long period of conversations and interviews and campaigning and fundraising, you are likely to say something that reveals more about you. There's a longer opportunity for people who know stuff about you to come forward. It's a more, it's an easier environment. People are not going to feel that they're going to be blacklisted from ever working in this country again, or in this state again, or in this town again. If they come forward with what they have to say, they're going to find support from people, so they're going to come forward. I mean, I don't think there was Clarence Thomas who had these allegations come forward. I think he would have been one of the first Supreme Court justices to have something like this. And then there's this lady, Christine Blasey Ford, who came forward. And I bet as we move forward in time, there will be other people with respect to the Me Too movement and Time's Up who are going to come forward and say, yes, this happened to me, in the same way that they came forward with respect to Trump and with respect even to Biden. So, yeah, there's more opportunity for us to know about these candidates, know stuff that we would never have known. I mean, even with respect to Hillary Clinton's emails, I think if I go Googling now, I could probably find all of these emails and sit down and go through them, or just have somebody else read them and tell me what was in them. That's what, the news does. But I don't know that people have moved their position that much at all, because like I said, mostly the biggest contributor to people's political ideologies is their families. You're going to have people who their family was Republican, now they're Democrat. Their family was Democrat, now they're Republican. Their family was conservative, now they're liberal. You're going to find those examples. But by and large, the biggest, it's like your religion as well. Even though religion is, of course, disappearing now. But I think that there are a lot of people who are afraid to say what their position was, and because they can find similar people, similar like-minded people, and they know that they're not alone, it is a lot easier to put forth your opinion. So there might also have been people who were lying. There's somebody who's asking you whether or not you approve of the president. People could have been lying about Reagan. People could have been lying about all the past presidents, because who is this person? Is it the FBI? Is it the police? Who are they going to tell what I said? And you can see what happened in the polling with respect to Donald Trump. It's completely off. And with respect to the polling for Brexit, it was off. So I think people are more willing to be truthful. There is more information that's out there. And yeah, I don't think that I had previously thought that it was an indication that, oh my God, things are going to get worse and there's going to be a big reckoning at some point. and not necessarily a civil war because the lines are not that clearly delineated. But yeah, I think it's just the tide has gone out and we can actually see where everything is, whereas before we couldn't. So I don't know that the landscape has actually changed. It's just that we're finally able to see the landscape of who is approving of who, and whether or not you do approve of this guy based on all the information that you now have access to. So anyway, thanks for listening. Peace.